Hello there, and welcome to the FOST series of instructional videos. If you'd like to learn how to log into Microsoft Teams and explore Teams interface, this very introductory video is for you. You will learn about Teams floating toolbar, how to share your screen with your students, how to use the chat, and how to check in on your Teams participants. So if you can take a look at my screen right now, you'll see that I am displaying a link where you can download the desktop and the mobile versions of Microsoft Teams. So these come free, and I really recommend highly that you download it for your desktop, i.e. laptop, and also for your iPad. And then this, by downloading this, it avoids a lot of weird problems that come out of, that result from using the version of Teams that we get when we go in through Omnivox. So I have my Teams set up to load automatically for me every time I wake up my laptop computer or boot up my laptop computer. But if you prefer and you're not technologically savvy, you can go to Omnivox, which is where I am right now, and you can access my agenda and email over here from the menu on the left. And this takes me through to Outlook. And from Outlook, I can access the grid menu up at the top left. You can see it says App Launcher there. So when I click on that, this brings me to a list of apps that I commonly use. And if I take a look around, I should find Teams. There it is right there. Let's just say I didn't find Teams there. I can check all apps and see if it's there instead. So I could start up Teams by clicking on this little button here. On my desktop, though, you'll notice that I already have Teams booted up. And this is what we get when we log into Teams, first of all. And if I take a look, there's a menu down the left-hand side here. If I click on Teams right there, this allows me to look at all of the teams that I'm currently subscribed to. So if I go to all teams, you'll see because I'm on the FOST team, I have a ton of different teams that I am already part of. There's the FOST Faculty Online Support team. And here's the one that we use, the FOST members use to experiment around with stuff. So I'm going to take you into the Jack Online Teaching Community, which is our private FOST area. And I am going to show you how I would go about starting up a meeting in this team. So if you could pretend that this is your class right now and you wanted to start a meeting, you look down at the bottom at the menu down here, and you'll see Meet Now. So I'm going to meet now. It's going to be a lonely meeting because there's nobody here. Training session. I'm going to call this training session. You can name your meeting, or you can choose not to name your meeting. And I'm going to meet now. And this is the basic Teams meeting screen here. And if I hover my cursor over the main screen, like I'm doing right now, a little floating menu toolbar will pop up, and I'll just take you through that floating menu toolbar first of all. So it shows you a bunch of interesting stuff. First of all, on the left, you have the duration of the meeting, and that time clock keeps on ticking. Then right here, you have an icon that allows you to turn your camera off and on. So obviously mine is on right now because you can see me, but I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera off. And now you can see what you see when your students have their cameras turned off. If you have a big class, like 40 people, it's probably best to have the camera turned off during your classroom meetings, because having the video on takes up a lot of bandwidth. And that can degrade the performance of teams, so people freeze and slow down if everyone has their camera on. What some teachers like to do is kind of rotate around so that you could have half of your class turn their camera on, for example, while the other half has theirs turned off. So I'll turn mine back on again. There we go. And this next little icon is the one that usually we have all our students mute unless they're speaking. So I'm going to mute myself, and now I'm muted, so you can't hear me, obviously. There, now I'll unmute myself, and you should be able to hear me again. Okay, your next little button is to share your screen. So if you wanted to show a video in class or a PowerPoint or display something for the students to see, a photograph or something, then you would go to share your screen. So I'm going to share my screen right now, just to give you an idea. Okay, sharing the screen. This divides your screen area into two parts, and the bottom part gives you the choices that you want to include. So if you're showing a video or something with a voice, like something with an audio track, then it's important to include system audio. If you click on this little window, then that shows your entire desktop, including your prompts, your menu bars, everything that's on your screen at the moment the students will see. If you want to just display a particular window to students, then you would select Window, and Microsoft is pretty helpful in pointing out which windows you currently have open now. If you wanted to do something with PowerPoint, well, it would give you that option also. If you're a math teacher or you're like me and you like to draw on a whiteboard to explain stuff, then you can start up your whiteboard, or you could possibly use Freehand by Envision. These are just things that I have accessible, and you might not necessarily have the same stuff available to you on your computer. For example, there's Spotify. So I was playing some music earlier, and Spotify appears now, and I don't think it will appear on your screen unless you were playing music. So if I go to share and I share my entire desktop, well, now you see what I have open. There you see my email and my apps and so on. Up at the top, you see my watch list. I was doing some stream. There's Omnivox. Here are my icons down at the bottom, and so on. So when I don't want to share my screen anymore, I press on this little stop sharing button, and whoops, there I am back again. So I'm not sharing. If a student or a fellow participant in your meeting wants to put their hand up to indicate that they have a question, there's a little hand icon here. So when I raise my hand, the moderator of this meeting will see that I have my hand raised. And one good way to see that or to check up on that is to go over here to show participants. So showing participants shows there's only one person currently in this meeting, and it's me, and I have my hand up right now. So after I've said my thing, I click on the same icon to lower my hand. So, and the little hand disappeared over here, as you notice. So if this were a real meeting, you were meeting with your students, you would see a list of all your students down here. And you would see whether or not they were muted and whether or not their video was on. You could call on them. You could ask them to unmute and answer a question, for example. There's also a show conversation, which is a little chat button. Let me click on that one and show you what that does. So if you're like me, you find it's difficult to moderate a chat, at the same time as you're talking. So you could ask your students to please put any questions into this chat window, and I'll be pleased to answer them. So some teachers have one of their students delegated to watch the meeting chat and ask questions, or even answer them if they're capable of answering them, down in this chat window here. So that's basically the basics of your floating toolbar. Then anytime in Microsoft, excuse me, it's not COVID, I promise. Anytime you see the three little dots, that always indicates that there are more actions available to you. So there's the three little dots there. There's also three little dots over here. So I'm going to click on that and show you what else is available from the floating toolbar. You can show your device settings. Well, this is very useful if you want to troubleshoot. For example, how come I'm not muted, but nobody can hear me? So you need to check your audio devices and so on. And your camera, if you want to switch between an integrated webcam and a remote webcam, then you could do that, and so on. So that's one of the actions you could do. You can also show meeting notes and take notes. You can write those notes down over here, and they would be available to students afterwards. I find that tricky to do at the same time as I'm talking, but maybe you could do that while your students are in the breakout rooms. Entering full screen, there, when I click that, so you'll notice that my image appears slightly bigger, and my icons and menu items and my tabs at the top have disappeared. So to turn that off, I'm going to exit full screen, and now my icons and my menu items are back again. More actions. Show background effects. Well, this one's kind of fun and cool. I have a craving to be at the beach right now. So you can see over here, there's a beach picture. And now you can see that I am at the beach instead of in my office at home. Hello. Oh, I wish I were at the beach right now. So that's something that you could try. If you want to get rid of it, press on this little X thing and apply. There, now I'm back in my office. Another little action that's available to you is to turn on live captions. So turning on live captions actually puts whatever you're saying at the bottom, and it's pretty smart at doing that. Look, I'm amazed. So this is good for people like me who are actually losing their hearing. I'm like this far away from getting a free government hearing aid, which is cool. So I'm waiting till my hearing disintegrates just that little bit more, so I get my freebie. You could turn off the live captions. All these things are toggles. You could put your numeric keypad on, something that I don't especially like to do, but there it is right there. If you're adding stuff up, that might help you. There, I got rid of it by pressing escape. You can also go back in here and press on this again. A lot of times we want to record our lectures for students so that they can review what we had to say. And if we talk really quickly, they can actually slow down the playback a bit or even speed up the playback, and that will help them. So you can start recording by pressing this and stop it by pressing this again. So that's a toggle switch too. And you can end meeting. If you turn off the incoming video, that means you won't be able to see your students talking to you at all. So that's not a probably good thing. That's not probably something that you want to do unless you're up north or in a place where your bandwidth is really terrible. And then you could try that to see if that helped you with your bandwidth. Okay, so that's basically your little floating toolbar and everything that it can do for you. Then there's also another menu down the side. So let's take a look at that now. Okay,